covering the entire Piedmont Triad and everywhere you are. This is WXII 12 News at 4:30.
Piecing it together, Orlando police and the FBI continue to search for evidence and put together the motive of the Orlando massacre shooter. Meanwhile, the country tries to stay strong and support one another. Plus, remembering the 9 as we approach the one-year anniversary of another mass shooting a lot closer to home. What communities across South Carolina are doing to celebrate the lives of the victims. And the presidential candidates take a quick pause from their campaigning to acknowledge the families impacted by the situation in Orlando. Good morning, everybody. 4:30 if you're just waking up. Kenny Beck along with meteorologist Brian Slocum. The warmest weekend of 2016 so far is now in the books. Any relief in sight?
Yeah, a little bit today. For about 12 hours, I think humidity will start to come down during the daytime, and temperatures down a little bit too. Right back in the 90s for much of the week, including some rain chances. There are the lofty highs from Sunday. We had 94 degrees in Greensboro. That was the warmest day we've had so far this year. 93 in Winston-Salem. That was also the high at Smith Reynolds Airport on Saturday. So some very warm numbers. Humidity was running a tad high as well. And temperatures this morning haven't cooled off all that much. We're in the mid-70s, Winston-Salem to Greensboro, Burlington, Triad warmer and still a little steamy. But look at Martinsville, Danville, Galax. They are running about 10 degrees cooler, and Galax about 13 degrees cooler than it is in Winston-Salem. That's where the air is dry. We're watching a cold front slip through the area now. It's getting through without any fanfare. Just a few scattered clouds will remain in place for a while. This is moving through a little more slowly than anticipated, but this will continue to drop southward as we go through the morning hours, allowing that dry air to press into the Piedmont Triad. I think by 9 o'clock this morning, it's going to feel more comfortable than it does right now as that dry air continues to press in from the north. This will push back as a warm front very quickly. I think by late tomorrow or really during the day tomorrow, we'll start to see humidity increasing, as will our temperatures during the day. So some clouds this morning, not showing you that there. High of 84 degrees this afternoon. That's about 10 degrees cooler from where we were yesterday. But mid-80s for highs and less humid. I think we'll all agree after a hot weekend, it's going to start to feel a little bit better outside temporarily. Rain chances are also back in the forecast. I'll have much more on that coming up in a bit.
Still many questions this morning, roughly 24 hours after the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. Orlando, Florida police report 50 people are dead after a shooting inside a gay nightclub called Pulse. They say 53 others remain critically injured and continue to recover at Orlando area hospitals. Officers have identified the gunman as a U.S.-born citizen, 29-year-old Omar Mateen. Here's the timeline of how these events unfolded. At about 2 in the morning Sunday, that is when the first shots were fired inside that nightclub. Then Mateen is accused of calling 911 and pledging his allegiance to ISIS. That happened about a half hour later. At 5 a.m., SWAT officers made their move inside the club to rescue the victims who were essentially being held hostage inside. During that process, police did shoot and kill Mateen. At about 10 in the morning, officers publicly identified him as the shooter, saying he was from Fort Pierce, Florida, which is roughly 2 hours from Orlando. Following that, Florida's governor declared a state of emergency. Rick Scott making that declaration. And then at 1 in the afternoon, President Obama made remarks calling this an act of terror and an act of hate. There are a few names and ages of some of the victims in this massacre. The city of Orlando will continue to release more names once next of kin is notified. The list is currently being updated on cityoforlando.net. No further details have been released other than the victims' names and their ages. Tributes are and will continue to occur across the country and across the world for those killed in Orlando early over the weekend. On the left, large crowds gathering in New York at the Stonewall Inn in Manhattan. The inn is iconic for the gay rights movement that began in the late 60s. Supporters were waving gay pride flags, holding signs, and shouting chants of support. On the right, the Gay Men's Chorus in Washington, D.C. That group singing the national anthem and the Star-Spangled Banner. The Orlando massacre struck a chord in hearts all over the country and even in our own backyard. People in Greensboro got together to pray at the plaza outside the Melvin Municipal Building downtown. Even young supporters came out to express their feelings about the mass shooting.
This afternoon I told him what had happened in Orlando, and of course he responded, and we decided to come to the vigil tonight. And he made his own sign, and we read a couple news articles, and he decided what he wanted to say on his sign himself.
I put 50 people not okay. Don't abuse them because they're gay, and I just thought it would be a good idea.